Okay, so Cam Newton was recently in the news for his comments on Dak Prescott, Brock Purdy, and Tua Tagovailoa. Basically, on his podcast, he labeled these QBs as game managers and received harsh criticism from around the league, particularly people from the sports media world, one being Kimberly Martin of ESPN. Listen to this short clip of how she reacted to Cam's comments, and then I'll get to what her colleague at ESPN, Ryan Clark, had to say about her. Here's that clip.
I'm just so, honestly, move past the outfit for a second. He literally said, in the year of 2023, where it's all about NFL backups, where is Cam? Not on an NFL roster, right? So he's talking about all these NFL game managers. He sounds like the people literally tweeting at me from their basement, get back in the it's like you are at home watching me. Just turn the TV off.
Okay, so I made a couple of videos reacting to Cam's comments and the backlash he received, and when I provided my commentary, I made sure to keep it in bounds and discuss the substance of Cam's argument. However, Kimberly Martin decides to go in on Cam, talking about his outfit, clowning on him for not being in the league, and compared him to all them Twitter users tweeting from their mother's basement. Basically, she was calling him a bum and attacking him personally without really addressing Cam's comments. So with that said, I'm going to play Ryan Clark's reaction to Kimberly Martin and Cam Newton's comments as he kind of goes in on his colleague and the rest of the sports media world.
From analysts and from people that really, people really went at Cam's head. Even from my network that I work on to the Warren Sapps of the world, people really attacking Cam and saying, well, this is what you were in your last 3 years and all those things. Why do you think people went at who Cam was as a player instead of just speaking to his opinion and being able to say, no, I think Brock Purdy is this. I think Tua Tagovailoa is this. I think Dak Prescott is this. When I look at what Cam Newton said and the reaction to it, I think this way, first of all. Everyone is talking about where Cam is now and speaking from the fact that he's not on a team and that he may want to be on a team. Guess what? All of us that give our opinion, right, either can't play anymore, nobody wants us to play anymore,
right.
And in some of these people cases, you never played because you couldn't play. So to speak about where Cam is making the comment from now is wrong, right? And to treat Cam as what I heard from somebody, to treat Cam as someone tweeting from their mother's basement is also wrong. Because what Cam Newton's perspective is different. Cam Newton's perspective is over 700 first place Heisman votes because I had 48 touchdowns in the SEC. I led the SEC in rushing with 1,400 plus yards. I threw for over 2,600 yards. It's being Rookie of the Year with 4,000 yards passing, which was a rookie record.
14 touchdowns.
Right? 14 rushing touchdowns, right? Which was the most ever. It's in 2015 accounting for 45 touchdowns, 10 of those rushing. And doing it his rookie year with Steve Smith at age 32 as his number one receiver, a old Jeremy Shockey, a young Greg Olsen, a leading rusher who only had 800 yards. Doing it in 2015 with Devin Funchess and Glenn, right? And so when he's looking at these quarterbacks, you know what he could say? Of the three I named, only one of them won Rookie of the Year, and that's Dak Prescott. Of the three I named, only one of them have thrown for over 4,000 yards, which I did as a rookie, right? Of the three I named, none of them have ever won an MVP, right? And so when Cam Newton is looking at that, he's looking at it from that perspective. And in looking at it from that perspective, I don't agree with his opinion about Dak Prescott, but I do agree with his opinion about the other two in some ways. But my point is this, though. Why do we as analysts get to talk about that man like he wasn't one of the best we ever seen do it at one time? Because when I make a comment, I don't expect people to respond to my comment with, oh, you were an undrafted free agent safety. When other people on TV make a comment, you don't expect them to respond with, oh, you played basketball at an HBCU and you were just a reporter. Or you are a woman who just reports from the sideline. Or you are a quarterback that was a backup his entire career, right? those personal attacks on Cam in his lows forget his highs. And as everybody is entitled to an opinion, I don't know if it's his platform, I don't know if it's his clothes, I don't know if it's his bravado, I don't know if it's his paint job. But Cam Newton saying that people are game managers, when you say it and hear it all the time on TV, that a guy like Kirk Cousins, for his entire career, everyone has called him a game manager, and he's one of the richest quarterbacks that's playing football right now, it's wrong. And so when you speak on Cam and his opinion, talk about his opinion, because all of these people who are spewing this vitriol at who Cam Newton is today were never what Cam Newton was at his height. And that is the perspective, and that is the perch in which he's making his assessment on, which is okay to make, because all these people who now get paid to do it never did it like him and aren't doing it anymore. So it shouldn't matter where he's making the comment from.
So Ryan Clark basically addressed the same thing I said earlier, that everyone was focused on Cam not being in the league rather than his comments. Like, how many people every morning do we see talking about sports who have never played at a high level? Think about guys like Stephen A. Smith or Skip Bayless, two of the biggest guys in sports media who've never stepped on an NFL field or an NBA court. And this is the problem with sports media, in my opinion, and I'm actually going to blame Ryan's employer ESPN and all the other networks. If you're an older guy like me, back in the day, you never saw people on sports TV shows clowning on athletes like this before. Guys like Stuart Scott or Dan Patrick never did this type of shit. Yeah, sure, there was that one incident with Jim Rome and Jim Everett back in the 90s where Jim Rome kept calling the former Rams quarterback Chris, as in Chris Everett, the female tennis player. And we all know how that ended.
But if you call me Chris Everett to my face one more time,
I already did it twice.
You call it one more time, we better take a station break.
Well, it's a 5-minute segment, or 5-segment show. We got a long way to go.
Well, we do.
We got a long way to go.
We do.
I'll get a couple segments out of you before.
Well, it's good to be here with you, though.
Well, it's good to see you, too.
Because you've been talking like this behind my back for a long time.
But now I said it right here.
Right, exactly.
Well, we got no problems
then. I think that you probably won't say it again.
I bet I do.
Okay.
Chris?
But that said, you just didn't see all this clowning behavior from these types of shows. Sure, social media didn't help, as you had people who had no business talking about sports offering their 2 cents, but I think things went into full gear when ESPN began propping up First Take with Stephen A. and Skip Bayless. Like, think about all those old Tim Tebow, Kwame Brown takes from Stephen A. Smith calling these players bums or scrubs. These type of engagements is what gets a lot of viewers and helps their videos go viral on social media. So I think Kimberly Martin actually fell victim to this with her take on Cam Newton the other day. I mean, she literally clowned the guy because he was no longer in the league. Hello, does she not know that 2 of her colleagues that she sits across from on Get Up or First Take also no longer play in the league because no one wanted them? Dan Orlovsky and RG3, say what you will about them, but they were nowhere near the same level of talent as Cam Newton, even on their best day. And yet she absolutely had no problems with her colleagues giving the exact same take as Cam did. It's clearly obvious this is all performative to attract engagement and bring up her social media presence. I just don't know how Ryan Clark didn't see that. The man works for ESPN and works side by side with Stephen A. Smith, so he should have known that a lot of the stuff that come out of these guys' mouths is all for show. Anyways, I'm going to leave you with this clip of Michael Rappaport, who's been on these shows before and knows a lot of these media heads, and listen to what he says about them.
Like, you know, I do these sports shows and people ask me all the time, what is Skip like? What is Shannon Sharp like? What is Stephen A. Smith like? I'm like, they're like actors. They're performers. Right. And those people on the news channels, this is the same thing.